Doing so well. It's so great to meet you. How are you today on this
I'm I'm wonderful. Yeah.
thing?
We uh we had a great night, a great event last night at Sidetrack with the cast of Chicago.
Oh, which I saw, and we are going to talk about that because you
Yeah.
sang your guitar, and it was so wonderful. But for all who, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Annalie with Broadway in Chicago, and today we're chatting with Brian Kalinowski from Chicago, who plays Amos Hart. So, if you have any questions about Chicago, about Brian, put them in the comments. We'll get to as many as possible. But first of all, is this your first time in the city of Chicago?
Yes, I'm a first timer. I have never been to Chicago before, but I have some friends from Chicago and they gave me all the advice and all the places to see.
Oh, absolutely. Well, welcome. Tell us, what are your thoughts on the city? We have to know.
It's great. It's chilly. It's windy. But um but I love it. It's so nice. It's so clean, actually. I'm from New York, and I've been walking around the streets, and I'm like, okay, they've got it together here. And there's tons of places to go and eat. I've eaten at a few great places. We ate at the Dearborn the other day in between shows. I had some sushi last night. So yeah, we've been getting out and about. I'm gonna go have a lobster roll for lunch today.
Well,
Yeah.
would you consider yourself a foodie?
Well, I like to eat. I'm not, I want to say I'm not picky. I am a picky person. I'm a very like not adventurous eater. Um, but there are certain things like lobster or lobster rolls or steak. I guess I have an expensive taste. Or sushi that like I am, a connoisseur of.
Oh,
Yeah, the deep dish pizza. I had some deep dish pizza. The moment I got here, that was the first thing I got.
well, where did you go? We have to know.
Giordano's.
That is an excellent choice. An excellent choice.
Good.
Well, we have so much to chat about, but I want to start at the beginning of your career of what really sparked your love for acting. Was there a certain moment in your life that made you think, wow, you know what? I'm going to do this professionally?
Yeah. So when I was younger, growing up, like my family was very sports oriented. My school was very sports oriented, and I tried all of them. Every sport you could think of, I tried, and I was not great at. And so I was just trying to find something that I could do that I was good at, or that I really enjoyed. And I started doing like school plays here and there. Um, I went to a very small school, so we didn't really have much. So I did like what they had offered. But one day in the newspaper, I saw they were doing auditions for the local like community theater production, and I went and I was like, I might as well go and see if I can. And I became a part of this community of actors and younger people and I was like, oh, you can go to college for this, you can do this for a living. And I kind of made my way through that. Actually, I did community theater in Wilmington, Delaware with Aubrey Plaza. So I can't believe she didn't mention it at SNL, but yeah, back then, and Jonathan Gallagher Jr. and a number of other people who have made it pretty far. But yeah, I started doing that, and then when it was time to decide what I was going to go into college for, I thought, I might as well do this because I love it, and I can't really think of anything else that I love as much.
That's so incredible. So now you are in Chicago, the touring production. What is your initial connection to Chicago? Did you watch the movie? Did you see the show a lot prior to, being in the show now? Now, I know that you were in a number of regional pr productions of Chicago as well. Tell us a little bit about your initial connections to the show.
Yeah, so I guess I was in college when the movie came out, and I remember my aunt and I on like a winter break or something, we drove up to New York to the Ziegfeld Theater when it premiered, when it came out, because it came out in the bigger theaters first, and then it came to Delaware and all the smaller places. So we drove up to see it, but I had maybe known Mr. Cellophane in college and learned that song then. And then after seeing the movie and after learning that song, I started doing cabaret stuff. I worked at a singing ice cream shop in Lavallette, New Jersey, and I started performing Mr. Cellophane there. And so I was like, oh, this needs to be on my bucket list of parts that I need to play. So it became a dream role for me.
What specifically about Amos Hart um, do you connect with in a way that made you think that this is a dream role?
So Amos is just a good person. I mean, I don't want to like talk myself up and be like, I'm a great person, but Amos is the only person, one of the two only people in the show who are just like completely sincere. They are not trying to fool anyone or trick anyone. They're not trying to lie. He's not part of this vaudeville world. And, I think that like navigating being younger and like trying to find your place in this world that you're in, like this, that where you are different or set aside. I feel like everybody can relate to that, right? I mean, everybody can relate to Amos, really. We all have so many characteristics of Amos. So, and he's just trying to like find his way and get through all of this crazy stuff around him that's totally out of his realm. And I think we all feel that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's someone who it's not particularly a question, but someone submitted this and said, "I saw your show yesterday, and I felt so bad for you, you being your character. What are some things that you think brings Amos joy?"
Well, Roxy brings him joy. I mean, Roxy is his life, you know? Um, so, but then when all of this stuff starts happening, and falling to pieces, what brings Amos joy is like normalcy. And like he's a mechanic, right? So everything fitting in its place and working mechanically, he's happy. When things are not going his way or are just like totally, out of the world for him, he that's when he gets panicky. But he likes structure and he likes you know to have the same thing happen all the time.
Absolutely. We have a few people wondering a little bit about your audition process. And I read in an interview you did with another tour stop that you emailed the casting people and like, hey, like get me in. This is my. And we have a question specifically here. What did you do to ensure the casting directors wouldn't look right through you or walk right by you for the role?
So yeah, I did. I kind of the process was you see the posting on Actors Access and I submit for it. And I didn't hear back. And I heard that people were starting to get appointments for it. And I was like, I hope they didn't miss me or overlook me. So I went through my email history and picked out every email address from that casting office that I had ever received any email, any correspondence with. I was like assistant one at stuartwhitley.com, all of them. And I wrote them this email and said, I would like to be seen for this. I played the part before. I think that this would be a really great part for me. And, basically what begging them for an audition. And they got back to me and I kind of know the casting director and he was like, oh yes, of course. Yep. We're gonna, set up an appointment and everything. Um, and then I went in there with an audition of Mr. Cellophane that was like completely, not that it was bad, but it was just not this kind of world that we were living in. I was doing all, because I come from like piano bars, and I was doing shticks and jokes and all kinds of stuff. And he was like, it's funny, but that's not what this production is. So the casting director took so much time with me and like reeled me in. And he was like, this is what the directors want to see that you can do. And this is the kind of Amos that they want for this production. Um, so he coached me for a while and he took some time with me. And then when the director came to the next appointment, Tanya Nardini, she even went further with it and, explained the character to me more and explained what, his part in this world of the show is. So it was all about just absorbing all that and making those changes from like this character that I thought it was to what they wanted for this production of it.
Absolutely. How have you specifically grown with this character from in regional theater and now doing it on tour, and just being in this role for so many years now?
I mean, this production, the direction and choreography and everything, it's the real deal. So I'm learning from like our choreographer, Gary Christ. was basically right there with Anne Ryan King when she was choreographing this production on Broadway. So I'm like learning from the great, from the greatest people who know their stuff. I'm going to tell you, they know every little in and out. And that's what I'm learning too. It's like there's nothing meaningless in the script. There's nothing, every little word can be picked apart and it means something, and it changes your outlook on how you're going to approach the scene or how you're going to perform with this other character on stage with you. Every little detail matters, and there's so many little details in this show. So that's, I'm developing more of an eye for detail.
Absolutely. You alluded to it a little bit about, when you're talking about your audition process, but talking just about the grind of being an actor and what advice you can give fellow actors who are working through this grind and maybe feel like they're coming to some roadblocks.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that there was like a big blanket statement, but everybody, and this is a hard lesson that I had to learn too. Everybody's journey is so different and so personal. Like, even from the point of, I would say, like, yes, go to college, do this and study for 4 years in a college. Well, that's true for some people and it was true for me, but it's not true for everybody. Like, you have to kind of like figure out your own path. When I was right out of college, some of my friends were like booking things left and right, the ways that they were going about doing it and the things that they were doing and the networking that they were doing was not right for me. I'm a character actor, and I needed to accept the fact that I'm going to work more later in life, and do more as an older, I had to age into my type. Whereas they were these, young hot things, and they were getting cast up left and right, and they were, but then as we get older, they weren't getting the parts so much because, they're not so young anymore. But that's just one specific thing. I mean, there's so many different things that go into like making it so specific for each person. But I would say my strongest thing that I did was just perseverance. Just keep going. If this is what I wanted to do, I know that this is what I want to do, and I'm not going to settle for anything other than that. I've had a lot of other jobs, and I could have gone into a lot of different other things that I was okay at, like I'm a pretty, I guess, organized person. I could have gotten into all kinds of management things, and I had offers to like manage things and to run things, but it just wasn't what brought me joy as much as the stage. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to do these things to make money until I get to the point where I want to be in my acting career. So perseverance is definitely the thing, and just learn from everyone. That's not another piece of advice. Go see the same Broadway show you love 20 times if you can afford it. Because I would watch all these different actors in Broadway shows, and I would be like, oh, well, this guy, I went to see Rent all the time, or Wicked when I moved to New York, and I would like see this actor and how they did it versus this actor, or how they did it. Or I would see the complete same cast, but I would see the differences in how they did it each night. That's just so cool too, that you can change things, or you can like find an inflection in something that's a little different or that hits a little harder. Rent is such a good, I went back and saw Rent so many times. They did that $25 lottery. Yeah, so I would say like sit back and watch and learn and let people, guide you and help you through learning through other people.
And thank goodness you persevered, because you are fantastic in
Oh,
this. It's so fun.
thank you.
Part of anyways, sorry, I've lost my train of, but you mentioned earlier how you were at Sidetrack last night with some of the other company members from Chicago, and it looked like such a blast. And you sang When You Get to Mama. We have to know, if you could perform any other number in the show, which would you perform?
See, I love When You're Good to Mama, but I also love My Own Best Friend. So, which we also did last night at Sidetrack.
I
Yeah.
mean, difficult to choose. They're all fantastic.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, like all of these songs, and you realize, like, when you were asking me about like what my first thing with Chicago was, I was like, well, I think I always knew All That Jazz. I mean, everybody knows the song All That Jazz. There are so many hits in the show. The Cell Block Tango, they're so iconic. Like hit after hit after hit. They're all iconic. But I think that the one that's less known is My Own Best Friend. That's in the end of Act One that Roxy and Velma sing together.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, we are nearing the end of our time, but to wrap us up, why should folks come out and see Chicago on tour?
I mean, it's just the best. You can't, no one can leave the show and not be having a good time and not have enjoyed it. It's so funny. It moves so quickly, and it's like you're not going to get bored by this show. And I think that no matter if you've seen it 10 times before or if this is your first time, it's a great introduction. If you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to like take my boyfriend who's never been to see theater before to something, and I don't know what, Chicago's perfect because it has all of the things that are very entertaining, you know, scantily clad people, and songs that are memorable, and you know, it's great. It's a great beginner's show, but it's a great person for the theater aficionado, because of the iconic choreography and music and everything.
It truly is. Brian, thank you so much for sharing your time and talents with us. We are so grateful.
Aww.
People keep up with you on social media. What are your accounts?
Yeah, I have a TikTok that I do a lot of backstage stuff from, which is a lot of fun because I got a lot of downtime during the show. So I have a TikTok at BK on B-Way, and my Instagram is at BK on B-Way.
Well, there you go, folks. You know,
Yeah.
let's follow on next. Well, thank you so much. And for all who are watching right now, thanks so much for tuning in. Come out, see Chicago in Chicago. You have to.
Oh, I know. It's like, you know, it's serendipity. It has to happen.
It has to
It's so meta that we're doing Chicago in Chicago.
happen. Come out. It is at the CIBC Theater until this Sunday only. Don't miss
Mhm.
out. Tickets are at BroadwayInChicago.com. We also have our $25 lottery and $49 rush tickets. So come on out, see the show.
And we've got a matinee this Wednesday too. If you're a daytime person that wants to see something during the week, there's a Wednesday matinee this week.
Oh, absolutely. Is it Wednesday? No, today's Tuesday.
No,
Oh,
tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow we have a matinee.
come out, come see the show. It's going to be a great time. Again, tickets are at BroadwayInChicago.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Brian, thank you so much again, and enjoy the rest of your time in Chicago.
Thank you. I will. Thanks so much. All right. Bye.